welcome to Mental Health Matters. I'm Dr. Audrey Tang.
And I'm Judith Crozier.
And this is the show where we talk about all things mental health and well-being. We have no quick fixes. We have no hot takes. It's just research-based, practical tools and thoughtful conversation. So if you want to live life a little bit better and not have to be perfect, this is the show for you. And today we are bringing back a wonderful, wonderful guest. We've got Felicia Jones joining us. She is a stress consultant and a nutritionist. And today's topic is getting back on track with resolutions.
That's a really interesting one to do, because obviously you start with all good intentions in January and then they fall off.
Yep, and sort of by March now we're a bit... How are you doing with your resolutions? Tell us in the comments. What about you, Jude? Where are we with... Or did you make any resolutions?
I made a couple. One was to get my work back on track. So January is spent doing that, working towards that.
Yeah.
And then the other one was getting me back on track. So, as you know, and I've talked about it, I went to the gym last year, it didn't really work. So this year I've tried a different tack, which is nutrition and gym, and this, not the psychology, but the practicalness about changing everything. So yeah, that's going okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, I don't tend to make resolutions.
I was going to say, yeah, did you make any decisions then?
Yes, I did, and this was since watching, it was Amy Rebecca on the show who did the This Time Next Year challenge. So she's recently been on the show, so do take a look at that. She was our Valentine's Day girl. I decided after watching her to just make regular changes that I could stick to, and one of them was just as simple as this time next year I would either like to be the same weight as I am but not worrying that I've put on weight. And so it is about saying no to that extra bag of crisps that I might have, or I might just do a slightly longer walk, but nothing regimented, and that seems to be working because it's a little bit kinder.
It is. It's not so you don't blame yourself for things.
Yes.
It's just maybe taking a second to think about things before you do them.
It's a conscious decision-making process rather than a rule. I have to do this because I know what I'm like with rules.
Oh yeah, me
I
too.
will bend them. You know, if I say, right, I'm gonna no carbs, it's kind of, yeah, but it's a birthday party, and you know, I just got to have the cake because it's rude not to. And they're genuine reasons, but that's the problem.
You can always talk yourself into a piece of cake.
How have you been able to get back on track if you have fallen off track? This might not be now, but in the past.
Well, I did sort of this latter part of last year. So for me, it was just having a stern word with myself.
Yeah.
That's it really. Like, what are you doing? Nothing's going to change if you don't change.
Yeah.
That's it. It comes down to that.
And I'm actually glad you mentioned this, because I did this in a training session yesterday. A lot of us are really good at this critical voice and beating ourselves up. Oh, you're stupid. You can't stick to that. You've got no willpower. But actually, it's using almost that same voice, but with discipline to serve you better. It's the stern word with yourself that says, get back on track, because you're doing this for you, as opposed to the bash you down, because that's not going to get us back on track.
No, exactly.
But we want to get the advice from our guest because she knows what she's talking about. She gives really good, practical, accessible tools. So let's bring on Felicia. Felicia, it is great to have you back on the show. Thank you for joining us.
It's lovely to be here and to talk about what's important.
Yeah, exactly. Because what we're really talking about, although we've titled this show, getting back on track with resolutions, it is about life changes that we want to make that are long term. Yeah. And I think sometimes calling them resolutions just feels like a really short term thing. I'll do it, make my goal, and then that's it. And actually, that's not a life change.
No, that's true.
So, with Felicia, I'm going to bring you straight in. What might you say to any viewer or listener, because we are on podcast now, who is beating themselves up because they haven't reached that goal, they haven't been able to stay on track? What would you say to them just to kind of at least calm that nervous system response?
Yeah, and you know what it's like. It's this thing that drives me crazy. At Christmas, it's all about excess. Eat everything you can. Have as much as you can. Don't do anything that's healthy. January, we get to, right, forget all of that. Start being healthy. Go to the gym. Eat well.
That's true.
You know, as you were saying in your intro, get to the end of January, over. Because we haven't had the tools really to help us sustain it. When we get to, you know, February, March now, then it's that guilt that comes in. I should have done it and all of that. You know, for me, I always speak to people about lapses. And a lapse just means that you've fallen off the horse. And it's natural. It's something that happens for all of us. But often we don't think about that as we get excited about doing the goal.
Yes.
We can guarantee that at some stage a lapse is going to happen. Life gets busy, you know. You're going to go to the gym and just for that day it's closed or something like that, or you go to buy your ingredients for a recipe and they're not there. These things happen. So my thing is always, you know, these lapses are going to happen. Know that they're going to happen, and in a way prepare for them.
Yes.
You know, and take that pressure off yourself. You know, we talk about children learning to walk or learning to talk. And the other thing I think in terms of that is remember a goal that you had before and how hard it was. Yeah. All of those stumbling blocks and, you know, all the things you went through to get there.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same again.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. But and this also relates to my next question, because what we're really talking about with that goal is it's kind of becoming not a different person, but a new version of you. Yeah. So when you're talking about lapses, they will happen throughout the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Therefore, it's about being able to manage some of that along the way. But because you're on the journey, I guess it feels like a lapse is more of a setback than if you kind of have got there and you're living it. But then that links to my question, which is, why do we often confuse a life change? So it's a long-term evolution with a short-term fix. I need to do this, and then I'll just go right back to my unhealthy ways. You know, it's like no carbs before marbs, and then you go to marbs, and after that you're eating, drinking, it's the excess, and then you're right back to where you started. How do we think about changing in a more healthy way?
Yeah, again, you know, we're always changing. Our biology, our chemistry, our internal chemistry is always changing. Our environment is changing. You know, you look at the world, everything is changing. But we don't think like that. We think that it's static, we have this goal that fits into this static, and that's not realistic. And the other thing is that whenever we go out of our comfort zone, we viscerally feel it.
Yes.
You know, on some kind of level, it makes us feel uncomfortable and we want to go back into that comfort zone. You know, humans are predisposed for comfort. But we need to think about change as long term, as you were saying. It's long term and it can be so satisfying. You know, if you're thinking about something that you want to do and you plan it and you organise it and you take the steps and then you're doing it, you have such a sense of satisfaction. As opposed to, you think about what they say about the lottery winners. They get it really, really quickly.
Yes.
Then they lose it.
Yes.
You know, nothing wrong with winning the lottery. I think we'd all like to win the lottery if we play. But, you know, I think we need to reframe change as something that is going to be long term. It isn't going to be overnight. And to plan for that. I think with all of this, when we're talking about the motivation, the resolutions, all of that, it's boring. But planning does help. You know?
Yeah, I love it.
It does. It really does.
Spot on.
So it's learning how to plan if you're not a planner, I guess. That's part of it. So talking about lapses then, how we know that happens. We might be ill or the gym might be shut, like you say. So how do we get back on rather than kind of almost throwing the baby out with the bathwater and go, well, I didn't do it for 3 days and no point, carry on.
And then we sabotage it, we make it worse. We then go, so I'll also eat that whole packet of biscuits.
Exactly.
You know, we don't need to do that extra bit.
No, but it happens. So it's trying to almost put it into perspective, isn't it, the lapse, and then go, right, okay, I'm just going to carry on. But is it as simple as that, or how do we do it?
The word I was going to use, perspective.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Honestly, that's the way that I've actually thought about. I thought about it. Is that we can just put it all out of perspective. This thing, it's gone horribly wrong. It's never going to go back again. But we need something to pull us back in to think that, you know, it takes time. It's a process over time. And, you know, sometimes what happens is we get disappointed that these things happen, and it can keep us stuck.
Yes.
But just having a little bit of perspective and speaking to other people as well that are honest, and say, you know, I was going to go to the gym and I didn't. I went round the corner for a coffee and a cake. You know, I think that just lightens it and allows you to know that you're not on your own. This is the human condition.
Yeah, I'm just
getting a bit of perspective.
Just whilst you were talking about perspective, sorry to interrupt you. It just reminded me, at the beginning of the year, I went to the gym and I was going back to swimming, and I'd done it for a week, and it was like, yeah, I can do this. Then I forgot that the pool was shut on the Monday, so I had all my swimming stuff, turned up on Monday, and I just saw at the reception, pool's shut today, and I was going to throw it all out of perspective. Oh, no, I can't go. And I just thought, no, you're here, you've got your kit, you can go to the gym. So I went, and as I was walking past, because you walk past the pool, there was a man standing there in goggles and swimming trunks, looking at the sign they put next to the pool. And it suddenly made me think, oh, I'm not you. I saw it at reception. It was so awful. But suddenly I was like, oh, I'm okay going to the gym now, at least. It wasn't in my
definitely puts it in perspective.
Sorry if you're watching.
Oh, that poor man.
But he was prepared.
He was.
That was the thing. Do you remember I said about the planning?
Yes.
And he'll go back again because he was prepared, because he was that into it. But you know, just to your point, I was just thinking that I had this quest, I called it quest rather than challenge, for January, for people to get some perspective and then to have like a little prompt every day for 10 days to help them through in January. And it had to be January because I was preparing it in October, November, December. And I just realised that I was under too much pressure. And then I woke up one morning and I thought, take the word January off.
Oh, brilliant.
It changed everything. Brilliant. It's so, you know, because we lose perspective when we're just going towards that goal. We've got to get it done, we've got to get it done.
Yes.
So you're right on point, Jude.
Perspective. And that just took the pressure off, I imagine then. Wow, okay. Great. And if we have to change our goal for whatever reason, I mean, I had to do it, didn't I? My goal was X, didn't work, so I had to change it, and now it's same but different.
Because the goal can be unrealistic sometimes, in the time limit or whatever the situation is.
Yeah, and just things change in my situation, but So how do we deal with feelings of failure when the goal has to change, even if it was unrealistic in the first place?
I think when we're talking about failure, it's like, is it our failure? Is it we're disappointed in ourselves? Or is it the group that we go around with, or the people that we've told we're going to actually achieve this goal? So I think, again, about perspective, it's you know, making that really conscious decision, or that thought, is it us? Because if it's us and we're disappointed, we're going to have lapses, we're going to have disappointments. But I don't think that any goal that we have or anything that we do is ever really lost. There'll be a little bit of that we can take forward. So if it's us, you know, over time something will come from it. But if it's because you've told everybody and you're embarrassed now, that's a whole different thing. So I think it's important for you to just own it. It's mine. And those people that I've told, or the family members, let it go. It's your goal for you to do, and you just embrace that.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Really does. And it's actually really nice. We've turned it into now, what do we need to do? Because we have had some questions from our viewers, and we will be back with those just after this tip from Dr. Gus Chavez.
When we think of change, we often imagine big steps, big workouts, strict diets, 30-day challenges. And because those feel overwhelming, most people don't even start. But here's the truth. Real lasting change comes from the compound effect. Tiny actions repeated consistently. Instead of trying to change your whole life at once, choose one small thing that moves you closer to your goal. Just one. Drink one less glass of fizzy drink a day, walk for 5 minutes, read 2 pages of that book, Practice 1 minute of breathing or breath work. Individually, these moments feel insignificant, but when you repeat them daily, they accumulate. Your brain adapts, your behavior shifts, and your identity changes. Small steps, they compound, just like money in a savings account. So today, choose one micro action, commit to it. 5 minutes, that's all you need to get the momentum started.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters, and thank you to Dr. Gus. Now, questions from our viewers, Felicia. First question. People are always asking, what's your why? But what if my why is just visual or superficial? I want to lose weight because I want to look good, but I don't want to tell people that because of all the other sort of things that go with that. So what this person said is, I don't want to say that because it implies that I think people who are overweight do not look good, but I'm not actually talking about anybody else. I'm not judging them, I'm judging myself.
Yeah. And I think the first thing that comes to mind with that really is you have to own it.
Yes.
You know, I say come to mind, but I think I've had this conversation with loads of clients before. But it's about you owning it, and you don't have the control over what other people think.
Yes.
You know, you have to know why you're actually doing it. It's what you believe in. Yeah. You're not actually judging anybody, and really own that and enjoy that you know that you're on this journey, if it's losing weight or if it's eating healthy or whatever it is. And if anybody actually comments to you, often what it is, and I remember hearing this the other day again, is that people are triggered by what is their truth. So if somebody says, oh, you're judging me because you've said this, it's often a deeper thing in them. Yeah. Like if you know, I said to you, you don't brush your teeth, you'd go, what are you talking about? I always brush my teeth. But if I said something that was slightly in terms of where you feel uncomfortable, you'll feel it.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, if somebody does feel that you're being judgy about you losing weight, you can't take responsibility for that.
Oh, yes, that's a very good point. We are not responsible for other people's feelings. That's a very nice piece of advice there. Yeah. These are weight-related questions. I think that's been quite a common theme, though, because of the new year. This one's the next question. I have a friend who wants to lose weight, but if I say anything about myself, she'll judge me. And say, but you don't have to worry, you're thin, and that's really exhausting. Is this a weight issue, or is it an I don't want to be her friend issue?
And I mean, you're laughing at that, but you know, really, what I would do is, if this person was sitting opposite me, I'd say, you know, just take a minute and just breathe, and go over the conversations that you've had with this person. Is it the same conversation all the time? They're putting you down. They're not, you know, they're not trusting you. And if it is, then you know, you have an option. You have an option to actually address it with them, to speak to them about it. Yeah. But if it feels really uncomfortable, you can't do that. Maybe you'll send them a text, or maybe you'll email them. But we all know that somebody who's criticising us isn't a friend. Because if you want to lose weight, they want to lose weight, you do it together.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know.
So interesting, because when I read that, I didn't even consider that this is part of a longer running pattern. You know, I took it out of context and went, oh, that's the only issue. But what you're saying there is actually reflect on your past relationship with this person. And is this actually just one example of a certain pattern of behaviour? Never even considered that.
And it's harsh, but sometimes if you can come together and you can talk about it, and this person might say, you know, you do seem thinner than me, or you do seem to be able to lose it. That's fine, you can work together.
It's different,
Sometimes you have to let the friendship go, and that is harsh, but that's what we do on this show. We talk about the reality.
Yeah.
That's true. And then there's another message that we've got. Somebody says, I want to lose weight, but my family are very much of the people are starving, so finish your meal viewpoint. How can I eat more healthily at home without upsetting my family?
Such a big issue, and it comes across, you know, in many different ways. The first thing that I'd say is frame it. Frame it in the perspective that your family member or your friend is saying this because they care about you and they love you. So if you look at it from that perspective, you'll have a little bit of a more positive kind of stance on it. And then understand that it could be because they don't actually understand what you're doing, or because they think that, you know, you do look fine. Why are you doing that? It could be because they hate wasting food, which I do. You know, it could be all of those practical things.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have the option to actually bring them in. And if they're a family member and you live with them, say, look at what I'm cooking. Would you like to taste some of it? Something like that. Yeah. Or try and cook a meal together. So you can try and bring them in like that. Again, with the friend thing before, you might not be able to.
Yeah.
And with this, you know, it is important that this is important to you. So make a note of what you're doing, how well you're doing.
Yeah.
Really enjoy what you're doing, so that there's a little bit of distance between you and the goal and where you're going, and the family member that's criticising you. Yeah. Because you're not always going to resolve it. I think that's the thing is, you know, we always think this is the situation, this is a clean answer. It's not always.
No, that's true.
That's so true, actually.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you mentioned there, which I think was worth highlighting, this is important to you. And we have a tendency to diminish our own desires and needs and things that are important to us just for fear of upsetting somebody else.
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
that's heartbreaking, actually, because the more we almost go back into ourselves, the less happy we become, and the less happy our environment becomes, which is, I know, what we're going to talk about in the next segment. But why do we diminish ourselves, and how can we stop diminishing ourselves?
Gosh, you know, I will admit this. For years and years, I was a people pleaser. Anybody needed anything, I'd be there. But I recognise that I wasn't helping in a lot of situations because people didn't want the help or they weren't ready.
Yeah.
So I was putting on my I can help you hat for everybody. You know, and I think that really applies to this situation. I mean, I've done work over years because it affected me not only in my personal life but in my work life as well, trying to do this. And I came to the conclusion that people will find the right help when they're ready. And if you sit back and you look and you think to yourself, am I doing this to help them because they want it and because they've asked me, or am I doing it to fulfil a need in me?
Yeah.
Yes.
If it's a need in you, it will never be quenched. You'll constantly be looking for people who need help. And it's tough when you've been that person. It is tough to pull back, but it is such an energy zapper.
Yes.
You know, and get on with living your life and fulfilling your own dreams and your own needs, you know.
That's so true. That's so true. And it's also because we might have been conditioned to behave in that way as well. And that's why it feels so awkward. And when almost doing things at your expense is what calms your nervous system in the first place, there is a lot of that internal work.
It's true, because if you are like that, if you don't offer your help, if you don't put yourself in a position where you're helping all the time, you can feel guilty. Like, it's very difficult to not help. So there's guilt and there's everything all on top of each other.
And then what that leaves you is the other person becomes dependent on you doing something, which exhausts you even further. Because I know, and this isn't conversations with clients, it's conversations with friends where they've said they've done everything, and it's often the spouse who then becomes so dependent on their intervention that they don't do it. Even yesterday I was speaking in a group, and one of them was saying, I have to let him fail. I have to let him not have any clean pants. But I said, in that case, surely that's a low consequence failure. You know, it's not as if he's going to get fired from his job if he can just wear them inside out.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know. Maybe it's very important for his job. But she got so used to doing the washing that her husband, even though it was a split chore, and apparently they discussed it was a split chore, he still wouldn't do it. Yeah. So do we? And I know this has gone off point a tiny bit. Do we have to just let people fail?
I think sometimes,
I think so. And I think you have to think for both of you.
Yes.
It's not only that you're doing something that's not good for them, but you have to fill your own cup. And you can just be giving and giving and giving to others, that you forget your own goals, you forget your own desires, because you're just giving and giving to other people. Then you get resentful because you're not being filled. You're not actually really helping them because they're dependent, and it's a whole thing.
And you're so right, because whilst you're talking, I'm also thinking about what these little things, these little resentments are. They're a tiny cup. They're low consequence. We're not actually talking about you've given something to somebody which is going to make a massive... But yet we're getting so resentful over washing, over ironing, over... Wow. That's actually shifted something. That's a really interesting thought, how we build up and fill our lives with such little inconsequential things.
Yeah.
That can have such an impact. Felicia, we're keeping you. We'll be back after this tip from Dr. Gus Jarvis.
If you feel stuck or unsure where to start, here's a method I absolutely love. Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? Don't think big, think doable, think gentle. Your goal might be weight loss, confidence, emotional balance, better sleep, less stress. But every big transformation is built on one small action repeated over time. One small thing creates momentum. Momentum creates identity, and identity creates long-term change. I tell my clients all the time, you don't need to change your whole life today. You just need one action that nudges you forward. Pick something simple, something you can actually repeat, and start there. Your future self is already cheering for you.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters, where we're having a really, really fascinating discussion with Felicia Jones, who's a stress consultant and nutritionist. It's a really great discussion about resolutions, but lots of other things have come into it, haven't they? So, it's really interesting.
Brilliant, yeah.
So a lot of the questions that we've had or that we've asked seem to relate to the environment in which we're trying to make the changes. So how do toxic environments affect us? In other words, people at home or friends who might be commenting and not being very supportive, being judging our choices, and what would a healthy environment for change look like?
That's a really interesting question, Judy. When I think about this, I think it's important that we kind of define toxic and healthy, because toxic, you see these buildings with all this smoke. That's not necessarily toxic when we're talking about us and our environment. So I just wrote down two things, that when we're looking at toxic environments, it's really something that's unpleasant, harmful, but it can go through to insidious or dangerous, and dangerous to life or dangerous to health. Wow. So that is critical.
Okay.
When we're looking at the other side of this, at healthy, we're looking at things that are good and physically and mentally well for us.
Yeah.
So those are guideposts. They're really, you can see the difference between those. And so when we're looking at those environments, I think it's also important for us to know ourselves.
Yeah.
Because environments change. So something that was really healthy for you before, let's say, I don't know, you were just in a relationship and it was going really, really well, and then all of a sudden it doesn't feel so great, it feels unpleasant, it feels harmful to you. The other person might feel great, but for you to recognise that's not right for me, and that's where the toxicity comes. So it's not that it's static, but it's our perceptions of those as well. And what's our perceptions of what it means to be healthy, and how can I be in that healthy state as much as possible.
Yes, self-awareness in there, isn't there?
Absolutely,
we have to take that moment and look at that. And your point about environments changing, they absolutely do. And what, again, whilst you're talking, I'm sort of thinking you can have what can become a toxic environment, which looks healthy, because it can be. I don't know, you're in this new relationship and then it's lovely because he brings you breakfast in bed and he's always asking after you. But then it gets annoying because they want to know where you are, and then it becomes smothering. And what was lovely, and to maybe to other people looks healthy, actually isn't. So it's a real self-awareness in there.
Yeah, that's actually made me think as well that there's varying degrees of toxicity and varying degrees of healthy as well. So yeah, going back to what you said, and
I think we bandage these terms around, don't we? Toxic and healthy, but it's let's define what it means to us.
Yes.
yeah. So maybe we could think of like a helpful environment and an unhelpful one, maybe.
And personally,
yes,
what that is.
Yes.
For me personally, I need this sort of thing. And of course, we can be adaptable.
Yes.
But it's about knowing what you need to thrive, I guess. It's a bit like a plant. Plants know.
Absolutely. And talking about plants, exactly, that, you know, you might have a plant and it does really well in a corner. You move it, for some reason it dies.
Yeah.
That's, that's a really good analogy.
The plant might think that's toxic.
Whereas I got it look quite pretty.
But it's hilarious.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. I love that. Yeah. And so perhaps more importantly, how do we achieve it if there is an environment at home which maybe isn't supportive and helpful? So, for example, one viewer described having one of those parents who, when you're feeling really good about something, they bring you down, maybe not by criticising, but maybe having a non-reaction. And that says...
I feel that. It's, you know, I love this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it does. It can bring you straight down.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, the relationships that we have that are closest to us are those that trigger us most. People know those buttons to press.
Yes.
And often, it's not about us. It's about what's going on in that person's life. So you might be doing really well. You've set yourself a goal that you wanted to achieve and you haven't done that before. You're doing well. And this person's like, you're leaving me out now. I feel lonely.
Yes.
I haven't got that grip on you anymore. And they're putting that on you. They're pulling you down. And so you can have a conversation if you're able to do that. You can try and bridge that. But I think often you actually need to have an external helper to work through these things, because they can be really painful and they can really derail you. So getting counselling, having a coach to be able to just frame this and think, how am I going to deal with this? Because if you're talking about a parent, this has probably been going on for years and years and years. And you can be having the conversation, it doesn't make any difference. But having somebody from the outside be able to say, you know, think about it this way. This is a strategy you can use. You try it, go back. You try it, you go back.
Yeah, that's a really good
idea.
Because
I think that sometimes, you're absolutely right. It's like, my analogy would be, starting a new business. You want your friends to share the posts and things like that. They're not your marketing people.
No.
You need to have a marketing strategist to help you do that. Because then you'll just get resentful for your friends. But your friends are kind of going, but I want to be your friend. I don't want to share your business. It's my social media platform. So it is about the right people for the right places. And I think that's really important. And again, without talking about this, I wouldn't even be thinking like this. Everything is so much deeper than we realise.
It just makes you think of more and more questions, doesn't it? It's such an interesting topic.
So, okay, now we've got somebody who they're afraid of not achieving the goal. Almost the shame of not achieving. They've already perceived they're not going to do it, even though they really want to do it.
Okay.
So what they do is they go, oh, I'm perfectly happy the way I am. And you know they're not. You know, it's like they complain about it in different ways.
Right.
And you know that. You know, asking for a friend. What do we do then? How do we, I guess, have that intervention to say to them, look, I know you want to make that change.
Yeah. Is it your responsibility?
Yeah, good point, yes!
That's what I'd say. You know, people change when they're ready.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I used to do a lot around motivation until I recognised that you can support people, you can bring them in. You can't actually motivate people because motivation comes from inside. So if somebody's constantly saying to you, I want to, and you say to them, well, go on, do it, and they're still saying, and they're not actually changing, you have to listen to that. And you have to really recognise that they might not be ready to change. You can say to them, I'll be here when you're ready to change. I'll walk you through it. I'll be as supportive as possible. But is it your responsibility?
That phrase, honestly, when you said it was like a slap in the face, and I was just like, oh, you're right, this is for triggering something in me, it's not them, it's, oh my goodness. You know, but again, and I work in this field. You know, you need this. You need the practitioner to just say to you, "Oh yeah, no, it's not. No, not mine, not mine. What?" And I now need to go and reflect on that.
Because we can feel that we're horrible people.
Yeah.
You know, that we're not helpful. And that's our role in life, to be helpful. But being helpful can mean closing the door or saying, look somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's not always holding somebody's hand in the way that we're taught to.
Yes, yeah, and then when you're taught professionally to, it's almost even worse to put that aside, because you can see it. Because I think it teaches you to have that sensitivity, but then to not apply it feels like a whole spite on your own profession. Oh my gosh, this is deep. Right, therapy for me. So next question. Okay, you've achieved the goal.
Okay.
Which is great. How do you maintain the habits when it's still actually effort to keep doing it, when the environment is still not necessarily supporting you? So let's do I'll give a genuine example. Is my husband. He has given up smoking. But people go out at work for a smoking break. And not that work gets decided there, but it's a nice kind of break to have.
Yeah.
And he started going out with them and having an ice cream, which is great. But then he went, but I've had so many ice creams, I've got to go running. And it was winter. I don't know what is going on in his head, but genuine situation.
Yeah.
He's really tried to do that. He vapes now and then and just does that. But the question is, I'm still hanging around with these smokers.
Yeah, and I totally get that, because there's a friendship, isn't there, that has been created, and I'm in with my people.
Yes.
Now I've stopped. I'm not in with my people.
Yeah.
But I think when we think about change, we think about it as instant.
Yeah.
We think about change as linear. I've made the decision to stop smoking, and then I do it for 2 or 3 weeks. I've been doing it for 20 odd years, but I just stopped smoking. That's not realistic. You've got all of those habits, all of those behaviours, like the group, like the friends, like the things you used to associate with the cigarette, or the food, whatever it is. And it takes a while for that to literally come out of your system.
Yeah.
You know, so when you're thinking about change, I think it's important to think about it as it's long term. And we talked about lapses before. It's not all going to be easy. And I think before the show we were talking about social media. It's sold so much to us that everything that we want should come easy. But again, as I was saying, with the lottery winners, it comes easy. 9 out of 10 lose their money within, I don't know, is it 3 years or something?
I thought it was 2 actually.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, majority.
Because it's come easy. But when you think about, and you have to kind of think about your future self, like just taking your husband as the example. How will it feel in a year's time to not be a smoker? You might even influence those people that were outside because you've done it. You're not going to ostracise yourself from them. You can still be in an environment with them that hasn't got anything to do with smoking. But how will you feel a year in?
Oh, I like that. It's a year. It's taking that longer time to do it.
Yeah.
Which I just don't think we realise. We just set a goal and go, I must do it in 3 months' time. And sometimes we even, and this is where unrealistic goals can come in, we set it because we haven't thought about it until, oh no, my holiday's coming up now. Oh no, I need to worry about... Planning, isn't it? It's planning and self-awareness.
Yeah. All the boring stuff.
All the boring stuff. Do you know what? It's so often I have to say to people, you know what? It's not psychological, it's practical sometimes, the solution.
Yeah.
It's sometimes just put the plan in place. Oh my goodness, Felicia, I could talk about this forever because I think it just really uncovers so many things. We are going to keep you. We're going to go to Test the Trend and then we're going to go back for your top tips. So let's head over to Test the Trend. This week's challenge on Test the Trend is... name a change you want to make. So that change might be, I want to run 1 kilometre every single day. Now, identify the smallest acceptable for you version of that. So it might be, okay, if I can't run that 1 kilometre, I will walk half a kilometre. So whatever that smallest acceptable version is for you, make that smallest acceptable version the non-negotiable. Don't beat yourself up over the running the 1 kilometre. Think about what is it I can do and try and stick to that. And now this is going to vary from person to person. And for the first few weeks that you're trying to get into this habit, you might think I'm actually doing the bare minimum. Yes, but you're still doing it. And that's the thing to remember. When it becomes a habit, you can start building it up and you can start making it bigger. That's your challenge for the week. Felicia, this has been such an interesting discussion. It's thrown up so many things that I never even I think theoretically I realised we're all part of it, but you really don't voice much the complexity that goes into change. The environment that affects you, the past habits that you've had, the fact that you are making this change and it affects all the other satellites around you. It's so complex, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Yeah. What's some of the things you've taken from today, Jude?
I think planning. I'm not a great planner. So I think, planning. And also just being consistent, I think. So the test the trade, your advice really links into that, because if you do start small, but be consistent with small, then you can.
Yeah.
So that's it. And also just the environment as well. And if the environment at home, for example, is for me, I'm lucky, I've got a supportive husband, but if it isn't right, then change something to make it right, I think.
Yeah, or don't tell certain people and bring the
don't
right people
share
into your network.
too much, maybe.
For me, it was just your point. Is it your responsibility?
Yeah.
That's the phrase I'm just going to have in my head. Is it your responsibility? No. The answer will be no most of the time. And then from that, it's your other point of asking yourself, what is that triggering in me that makes me need to do that and not focus on my own stuff? And I think that's so important. Sometimes you just need someone to say that to you. So thank you for that. That's really, really, great. Felicia, we're going to go to you now for some top tips of recovering from setbacks and getting yourself into the healthy lifestyle you want to have.
Brilliant, yeah. Well, I think when I'm talking about this, it resonates so much with me because I've had a huge amount of setbacks. And so what I would say is get a community. Get people who really support you and who you can talk to about this kind of thing. We've talked about lapses, we've talked about, getting things in perspective. And if you've got a community, and that community could be online, it could be friends that you meet for coffee, it could even be, and I know this sounds strange, a book that has tips in there that really supports you. So get a community around you who you can openly share with these things that are actually going on. And when you're in that community, like we've just been talking, you just recognise this is the human condition. I'm not a bad person because I set this goal and I didn't make it. I've got somebody saying to me, just make these small goals, change these habits. So for me, community is a huge thing. And I think the other thing that I'd say, the tip is own it. If you want to change something in your life, it's not going to be easy. But if you think about everybody else that's doing it and who's going to complain that you're not doing it, in the right way, or you're not supporting them, you're never going to make that change. So if you want to make a change, own it. You deserve it. And enjoy what the result is. They're my tips for you today.
Oh, I love you all deserve it. You deserve it. Yes, it's all about that internal value again, not diminishing ourselves to let somebody else take over. Oh, Felicia, we love having you on the show, and we are having you back on this show to talk about some of the questions that you've written to us as well. So we're going to take questions from the audience. You can listen to Mental Health Matters on podcast. You can watch us on TV. We have a new episode every Thursday. Because well-being isn't a trend, it is a practice. From all of us here, have a healthy week.